Carzy missing bot lane. They have two really crazy players.
They might just be completely inked.
I think they're going to be crazy bot lane.
Yeah, they're quite wild. Either going to go 10-0 or 0-10.
Flash away from Neon. Kaiser, of course, doesn't have flash cards. He just needs a couple more orders.
Look at that! The Gale Force as well.
We've got this team that you feel like coin flip life right, left and center, but instead we're actually getting a team that is very cool, calm and collected, almost looks like a completely different roster. We've got a team that can play slow, but also a team that we know when the chips are down, they have the pop-off potential.
I think when they get together, both of them are overall very smart players.
There is no such thing as too aggressive or like too passive. I think there is good and bad play.
Execute gets out from the laser. Carzy flashes forward. One more shot does it.
LEC here as well to continue the fight. Might just look for a flash play here. Instead, just looks for the hook and lands it. Jonghoon takes a magical journey out of there, but all he can do is see day or die in front of his very eyes.
You can't go anywhere. Caught between a rock, a hard place, and a bright alliance. Mad Lions dominate.
For Koi, this is a chance for them to show once more that they are the dominant team in Europe. Show once more that it wasn't just a fluke that happened in summer and that they are here to gain more titles and put more than just one in their cabinet.
It blows that we didn't go for 3-0, and that's something that I'm like kind of ashamed for the fans. If it's not gonna be like a mental boom kind of split for us, then I think that we're gonna do really, really well anyway.
Comp and Trimby want to beat you in lane, they want to hammer you down, and they want to come out and show that they are better than you.
Comp is so incredibly low, so Rocket now healing out Comp. They're trying to cut him down with Patrick getting burned. Trimby to bananas! Oh, that is not what you want! Flash banana, flash banana! Oh! They're trying to smite this shield, charging the Q, has to go back in, but they just give it! It's just a big leash! Koi say, thanks for the leash, thanks for the fight.
When you look across at 2020, Mad Lions dominated that year, winning both spring and summer. It feels like there's a lot of vendetta for this team of Mad Lions to prove to Europe that they still belong at the top, and taking down the kings of Europe right now is exactly what they need to do to show that.
I expect a lot of fighting, a lot of ego fighting, honestly, between Hilly and Trimby. So I'm really excited to see.
It's Carzy and Haley, and they're both good, but I just want to make sure that people understand that when it comes to laning, I want to be high up there, and I don't know if they are high up there. We'll see when we play them.
So far we haven't been challenged too much. I think it will be nice to see harder matchup on the bot lane. I hope there is a lot of fist fight.
Hope that the rivalry will be there, and I would like to make sure that we'll be on top of the rivalry.
Well, it is the LG Ultra Gear match of the week. Mad versus Koi. There's a lion.
He's killing the fish.
The clownfish has no chance. They can find a Koi shirt, I think.
Director's cut. Nemo.
I know we saw this already, but I wanted to show it again because my producer Evan told me that Hillesang is actually in his free time. He likes to go fishing. So that's probably where that idea came from. But it is our LG Ultra Gear match of the week. The best rivalry in the LEC currently. Mad winning the LEC back-to-back in 2021. Koi, formerly known as Rogue, are reigning champions. A series that has always delivered in the past. And hopefully this best of one will do the same. That is the hope. That is the want. That is the ask. Koi yesterday, not convincing versus Heretics Goldberg. Mad coming off a great win versus XL.
Yeah, and I think yesterday as well was a little bit of an outlier for Koido, because it was one of those games like as soon as you were past the 15-minute mark and how the game was going, you could already kind of tell that you were just not coming back into this game. Like, it was a bit too much early focus-oriented with the Elise, and once she never got the first few ganks going for her, never really got
Devil's advocate. Maybe they aren't as good as we thought they would be. Maybe they won't hit the ground running as much with this roster, and for me, this game for that is a great indicator.
I mean, I think that's valid, because they are not as good as they used to be on the Rogue. This is not the reigning championship team, while through like Orc with Rogue to Koi, yes, it still is, but through playstyle, it's not really showing that same thing.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Malrong in the early game the other day on the Elise, it was just absolutely insane. Like, I think at one point he was level 5 when the enemy AD was up to level 7 because he just wasn't doing his camps. He was just spamming, looking for ganks. A lot of focus around that bot lane as well, trying to find some opportunities, picking up the scraps. But he is your classic gank non-stop type of player. The stats, well, okay, we don't have the rankings next to them anymore, but like they are in the dirt. Malrong's stats always look terrible, but the influence he finds is always so big. I think yesterday was a bit of an outlier where it wasn't quite up to the level that we usually want to see out of him, and that ended up costing them as the rest of the team was kind of relying on him to sort of bridge them into the late game.
Yeah, I've said this before, but you sometimes with Malrong, you get the highs of what we saw in the LEC finals, and sometimes you get the Lee Sin we saw at Worlds. But nonetheless, his jungle style is the fact that you skip camps and you just focus on your laners. It's always been the Malrong style. We don't have to reiterate it. I think that when you go for a playstyle like this, though, when you drop the ball and then you don't find the ganks, that's where you see the really negative impact on it, because then it's only a lose-lose situation.
And that brings us into the context of this matchup where they will want to get their confidence back up and show that they are still on that same level. And Malrong is up against someone that is considered one of the best junglers in the LEC, Elyoya, who has been on a tear.
Yeah, I mean, they both are, right?
Yeah.
These are like the two best junglers in the LEC last year. So here we have the comparison in terms of the stats. But I think like Elyoya has been a player that's like a little bit less focused on like the permagang champions or like the engaged champs. Maokai obviously going to be a big pick, but he also has really loved a lot of these like team fight junglers as well. The Wukong especially coming to mind as something that can have a big influence in the early game, but also as a big way of setting up for his team in the fights.
Yeah, I think it's going to come to the fact which bot lane is going to go ahead to get that pressure for your jungler, and then really from there, that's where the game is going to go.
Here's the huddle, meaning we are so close to those picks and bans. I'm super fired up for this game between Koi and Mad. Let's head over to our casters.
Thank you so much, Sharks. Welcome back to Casters for your match of the week. It is Koi taking on the Mad Lions. And interestingly, for the last couple of minutes, Mad Lions have been joking and laughing and playing obviously at their PCs, whereas Koi, they stepped off stage. They had their huddle. They're getting the game faces on. It is a big match for two of arguably the most exciting rivalry that we've had here in Europe for the past couple of years.
I agree. I mean, it's been an absolutely gorgeous rivalry to watch as well, especially when you look back at 2020. Felt like the year Mad Lions. We then come to 2021 summer and finally we get Koi picking up their first title as well. But it's always been a matchup that has been so fun to watch regardless of what year it's been.
Can you make any predictions on what these teams might want to focus on in the draft? We're about to load into picks and bans. I imagine that the meta champions will be banned away, but we've seen both players like Hillisang and Trimby popping off and taking control of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm going to be focused on is that bot side, right? Especially when you look at Comp, 100% ban rate of the Caitlyn. They do not want him getting control of that bot side. And I think Comp and Trimby have been absolutely exceptional at getting and working with these pushing lanes, especially when we know that Trimby likes these more enchanter styles. Whereas when you look across a Hilly and Karzi, I think a lot of people were expecting this lane to kind of fall apart, especially in the meta that we're in at the moment. But honestly, they've been absolutely incredible. And I mean, oftentimes coming out with a goal difference at 15, that's positive for Mad Lions. I want to see now if they can do it up against the caliber of Comp and Trimby.
And they're definitely going to be the potential for blood and action during the course of the laning phase. And no surprises yet. Yumi as well as Caitlyn, Maokai removed from the pool already. Of course, both of these teams fairly flexible in who and where they can lean on players to carry in game, but also both of these teams struggling a little bit over the course of this winter split. Still looking to find their stride, looking to hit their peak potential. Heimerdinger will be banned away, so what? Lucian up, Zeri up. Or the direction
Rise,
going
Jax, like there's still a lot, especially for Shigenda. You're hyper-focused on these more carrying-oriented top laners, right? He's gone towards the Jax in a lot of situations. You also look towards like the Aatrox, we've seen the Fiora from him as well. So I think that's where Mad Lions are trying to eye up, okay, do we get rid of the Rise, which I think is, the Jax since the Rise is already gone? Or do we try and pinch that jungle pool a little bit more, get rid of something like a Wukong or even the Sejuani as well? Actually, the Elise, okay, going to be taken away from Malrang.
So that means both Lucian and Zeri are available. The last two games that we cast were Lucian first picks. And I think for Comp, it's his third most played champion, 74% win rate with 19 games under his belt. The Mad Lions, what direction do they go? Because we've seen Zeri's up, with Lulu's available as well. Number of options available to them.
Yeah, I think something like an Ashe Varus could always work out here as well. Like we've seen a lot of teams kind of default back to that to push back against the Lucian and the Nami. You can even look for picks then with the Arrow, which makes that lane very difficult for Comp and Trimby, but could even go towards something like the Karma as well if they really want to. But I imagine Elyoya will go towards his jungle here. The Sejuani is going to be the pick, and I kind of like this because Malrang has really wanted to get involved in the lanes early and try and be a big nuisance, but all three of his picks now have been taken off off the board that we've seen him play thus far. So you're kind of curious to see what the backup plan is for him. Does he actually just default back to something like a Jarvan or something along those lines? Just prioritize focusing this Ashe in team fights.
Devi is also available if Malrang wanted to go that direction. We saw it having significant impact in the previous game. And for Hylissang and Kazi, let's find out who's going to be piloting that Ashe in a moment or two. Shigenda will be locking in the K'Sante. That will be the first time for him this winter. And of course, that will now also be the 5th unique champion across the 5 games that they've played. So now where's the answers here? Mad Lions, if they lock in that Varus, it's exactly the duo you're anticipating. Varus Ashe for Kazi Hylissang.
And now Malrang's going to be pinched even further. You look at the jungle pool, Vi could be taken off the board here. And then I'm kind of curious to see what the game plan is after that, because you're going down into the likes of like a Poppy, maybe something like an Udyr, although I don't particularly like it here against the amount of, CC and slows that are coming in with the double frail yard here on Mad Lions. But I really don't know what Malrang is going to go for. I think you get rid of the Wukong, you get rid of the Vi, and then maybe the Jarvan is the call. Coming in on the opposite side, though, for Koi, I think trying to focus this top side, getting rid of things that Chasey could potentially bring out into Shigenda on this K'Sante is probably going to be your best bet.
Seems to be the case for now. And the second ban for Mad Lions. Do they target another jungler? You would assume so. It will be the Vi removed from the pool. So I think in terms of the junglers that we have seen thus far, the Graves, the Viego, are the things that do come to mind with the fact that Sejuani, Elise, Maokai are removed from the pool. And Koi, you would anticipate removing another top laner here. There we go. The Renekton denied to Chasey. So for Mad Lions, I would assume you take your jungler here, or what else would you...
Maybe the Azir or the Victor kind of opt into one side of the matchup, but I think for Mad Lions, like keeping the counter pick for mid is probably your best bet. But if you want to just take that power pick in the Azir, could work out. Option is as well, okay, Chasey actually going to take the Fiora into that top side. We saw Shigenda try and pilot this the last time, but it does mean when you look at Mad Lions that they do want to try and play some sort of side lane game. So maybe a Twisted Fate can come in, but with the Jarvan now locked in, this immobile backline at Mad Lions is suddenly under a lot of threat from this Jarvan.
And what will the final champion be here for Koi? Larson has a number available to him, but when you look at the engage options and the go forward buttons from the rest of the squad, he now has locked in the Azir, the ability to both stand far back, use those sand soldiers, but also disengage tools in case a Sejuani or Fiora jump on him. Niski, what is the answer to this comp that's been put together?
It'll probably be the Victor just by default. Niski's kind of gone back towards that, but I really want to see them lean more in towards side lanes as well. Like, I know a Twist of Fate wouldn't quite work out here, but something along those lines, but actually going to be the Sylas. So just kind of opt into that, hey, we can play 4 sides if we want to with the Sylas, try and look for dives alongside him. But I think right now, the biggest thing is that you've on Mad Lions is a lot of range, a lot of poke, great engage, a lot of opportunities to just set up for a Chasey if he can find these early leads to take over in a 1-4 split push scenario.
For Koi, on the other hand, how do they handle this? Because I think both sides have got the ability to both go forward, but also to peel backwards. So vision, control are going to be very, very crucial. You cannot afford to be surprised because both sides can obviously instantly blow you up.
It does feel like for Mad Lions, though, they need to get the ball rolling early. Like in a straight up just front to back team fight, I heavily favor Koi, right? And I think this is something that Koi has kind of learned from themselves as well. When we looked over the last few games, they've been missing that, big engage tool that Odo brought to the team. We've been seeing Shigenda go towards more of these carry-orientated split push styles, and then the team fighting is take a hit as a result. Now Koi have said, all right, we're just going to go and play for team fights. Let's see if we can bring back some of that magic that we had in summer.
I also like the fact that Malrang playing on the Jarvan will be your primary initiator in terms of setting up those fights, looking for the flag and drags, the cataclysms, and then going to be followed up by the Lucian Nami. We've seen Comp and Trimby play forward, play aggressive. They can also be tools to help run down these members of Mad Lions.
And I think that's basically what Koi are trying to do here. Malrang knows that basically if he can play around the spot side, get the Lucian set up, abuse the fact you've got a Varus and an Ashe that don't want to be anywhere near a Jarvan, they can get into a good shape and play through the strength that has been Comp and Trimby so consistently on Koi.
Let's find out how this early game plays out. We're loading onto Summoner's Rift for Koi versus Mad Lions. take quick stock of where everybody is positioning. No meaningful shenanigans as of yet. Just stepping a little bit into the river for some vision. I'll give you a little quick stat. This is Hylissang's first ever professional game of Ashe. And we need to see how he handles Comp and Trimby in that lane. Obviously the range and the wave clear is going to be very good. But right now it's just a bit of emote spam, and I think there was a little bit of vision garnered there as Nisqy will spot Ashigenda and Larssen.
So I want to see how Koi play this early stage, because it feels like in a lot of situations, like up until level 6, they're the ones with a huge amount of control in these early stages. Larssen has push, Comp and Trimby when they hit level 3, will be able to do some serious damage. Malrang as well can be a serious threat if he tries to even make a move in mid, in towards bot side as well. And we know what Malrang's like. We know that Koi's early game is incredibly strong, and I want to see them abuse that fact with the composition they have.
Well, right now, using those minions to block any potential damage from Kazi and Hylissang. A couple of autos, as well as that volley thrown out. While that's going on, already doing trading here in the top lane. Chasing on that Fiora, and similarly, taking a look in the mid lane as Larssen is already shoving forward.
But look at Malrang's pathing here. He's gone for a completely weird one. He's not going buff to buff. He's actually just taken his wolves. Now he's going red. He'll be able to clear out his Krugs in the backside, but maybe even just look for level 2. Good ward from Mad Lions, though, expecting some sort of early play here in that tribe rush to see if they can spot Malrang.
I mean, Kazi and Hylissang are playing on the front foot. Still level 1, so much damage being traded. Summoner heals blown from both Kazi and Trimby. Malrang is on those Krugs. If Kazi and Hylissang stick around, maybe there's an opportunity. For the time being, it's going to be Larssen under siege. Alyoya dashes over the wall, level 3 available to him. The Nisqy is low from the poke.
Malrang's realizing he won't get anything on bot side, though. He's wrapping back up towards his Raptor, so might be here for the play on mid lane.
Oh, very, very close. Alyoya is still sitting, waiting for one of those movement abilities to be used. That's Nisqy dashing over the minions, will not find the chains. Larssen flashes over the wall. As Malrang shows up on the ward, no further follow. So Summoner Spell blown, that is still a win for Mad Lions.
Yeah, nice attempt from Nisqy. I think he was trying to predict where that movement from Larssen was going to be, either with the shuffle or with the flash, but doesn't quite get it. Still, flash blown in the mid lane leaves Larssen significantly more vulnerable, especially if Alyoya goes for that flash Q into mid. Easy setup for Nisqy with his own flash as well.
Yeah, once he gets to level 6, got the ability to reposition Larssen with an Emperor's Divide as well. And for the time being, Malrang and Alyoya looking for opportunities. They've both spent a fair amount of time just lingering or shadowing where the lanes could be. And look at this, Kazi and Hilly, after they've shoved in to Koi's bottom lane, immediately just step into the river in case anything was going to happen. So decent start here from both sides. And Shigenda and Chasey continue to just trade blows back and forth.
Yeah, Malrang's such a bro. He's just standing there at the side of the river going like, no access to mid lane at all for you, Alyoya. Even though he wants to try and move back up towards his top side to clear out the camps that he didn't get on his first clear, he knows that he has to let Larssen crash that wave or it's going to be a disaster. But does give Larssen a little bit of a CS lead, but now Larssen needs to play safe because Alyoya will be gunning for him. Doesn't matter if he needs 6, he doesn't need anything. He just needs both flashes and Nisqy Alyoya to punish Larssen before he gets to that 6-minute mark.
And I really like how Hilly and Kazi are playing this lane, using the angles to their advantages, continually chunking down Comp and Trimby. So they're always lower on HP. The wave is once again pushing into their tower, but Malrang is sitting in that middle lane for now. So it's going to be a little while before either team will be in a position, but Comp and Trimby with level 3, they could look to chase. They've got to get through the barrier of Hylissang if he's the target.
But this is what I mean about Malrang being a pro. He hasn't gone for those 2 camps on top side. He's immediately moved back down towards the bot. He actually dodged the vision there as well. He flag and dragged over. He's going to wait until his flag and drag is back up, and they're going to look for the dive here.
This is exactly what Ender was talking about on the analyst desk. Stats be damned. The impact's what you want. Comp and Trimby go forward. First blood secured by Hilly. Immediately countered by Trimby. As it is supportal combat on the way. Malrang gets himself the assist, but it's Mad that get the bonus ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's assists on both sides, right? Both AD carries not quite able to get the kill, and at least the wave crashed, but here comes mid.
Alyoya looking for the stun, flashes forward for it, and that means Larsen's in trouble. The slide, the glide, no Emperor's Divide underneath the tower though. Nisqy taking a shot, and he manages to escape. So close, 60 HP, and Nisqy gets out.
Where's Koi though? Malrang's on the hunt. Nisqy moving back in towards the mid lane. He can't crash this wave. He needs to get immediately back to his own side of the rift.
Mad Lions bounce back with the gank of their own in the middle lane. Larson so nearly made that work. Unfortunately for him, not enough tower shots connecting onto Niski's Silas.
You can see both game plans though for Elyoya and Malrang. Malrang, we talked about punishing bot side, tries to make the play happen, ends up being a 1-for-1 with Comp going a bit aggressive, but in the mid lane, that's the repeat gank I want to see. Now, does get significantly harder as we just crossed the 6-minute mark. Larson will hit level 6 off this wave, so trying to make these plays work with the Emperor's Divide and also both flashes on mid and jungle down is going to be more difficult, but I want to see if Elyoya now can turn his attention to countering Malrang's plays on bot side.
Right now, he's showing his face in a moment to the top lane. Shigenda's got that all out available to him. Both top laners level 6 and Malrang just crossing his blue buff. So Ghost has been thrown down, sidestepping some of that CC and uses the all out to put some distance between Elyoya and Chasey. But again, successful getting that summoner spell. Elyoya had a more meaningful impact on these opening 7 minutes.
You can see though why oftentimes you don't need to take flash on this Cassante. It's so hard to lock you down. You got so much mobility when it comes towards your E, especially in the all-out form. The all-out being knocked back as well makes things easy, but Niski...
That's the Emperor's Divide on both sides. Malrang is thrown in the face of Niski as Elyoya steps forward. Now all of a sudden the fight's in the bottom lane. Comp is just obliterated by the poke and the range of Kazi and Hylissang. Trimby forced to use that heal on himself, steps backwards, and he escapes with his life, but that's another kill to Mad Lions bottom lane.
And a kill pre-6 as well. You just get to repeat this. I mean, Cleanse is still there for Comp, but I mean, when you've got the Ashel, the Varus, Chains of Corruption, a Sejuani as well that come down to bot side, suddenly this becomes a very easy kill into Dragon setup, into keeping this game rolling over in favor of Mad Lions.
And if Hylissang is able to use those Enchanted Crystal Arrows, can allow both Niski and Chasey potentially down the lanes like we've seen last week already from those Ash Arrows.
I think this is just a really good showing from Karzi and Hylissang though. We talked about how these guys have been so good at being consistent in their lane, but I mean, Comp and Trimby have been one of the big shining lights for Koi. This bot lane has been so strong for so long in the LEC, but I mean, Karzi and Hilly just getting the better of them with this combo.
And also, you know, picking the duo into the Lucian Nami. Lucian was that first pick. They immediately responded with that Ashe and then Varus on the third one. And it's just, we're in a very tense situation, and it's interesting to see Mad Lions in the lead because these two teams have got a head-to-head of 18-14, with the regular season being 9-3 in favor of Koi, formerly Rogue, of course. Those additional wins and losses come from playoff series, where Mad Lions are 3-2 up in playoff series. This is part of the reason we're in this match of the week. Both of these teams sitting near the top, middle of the table, and contesting for as high a seed as possible, looking towards the group stage.
This does feel like a different version.
Oh, that's the Ash Arrow. Talked about it immediately. Chain CC and easy peasy. Mad Lions kill Larson.
I mean, he had flash, he had the shuffle, he had everything he could, but just couldn't move at all. Great arrow from Hilly from downtown. Now Chasey looking for a bit on top side.
Stepping forward, got the flash available to him, held on to the grand challenge. But that's what we've seen great Ashe players do, surprising their opponents with those crystal arrows, and it sets up just a really easy kill.
And an easy Rift Herald as well. You've already got push on bot for Karzi and Hilly. They're going to move up towards the Rift Herald as well. I mean, you've got ults still available for Karzi as well. Hilly's is nearly back, so you can't really contest this here as Koi without actually running into more and more CC that Mad Lions offer.
I mean, right now, Koi is starting to just stagger and fall further behind. It's a 2,000 gold lead. If you look down the CS numbers, small advantage in the top lane for Chasey, but it's even everywhere else. The problem is here, the kills that are being secured, the assists that are going around, it's just accelerating Mad Lions.
And this is exactly what I wanted to see coming from Mad Lions as well. We said they needed to get off the bat early so they could try and play it through these side lanes, not run afoul of the team fighting that could be brought to the table from Koi. Well, I mean, arrows like this, setting up plays like this for Mad Lions is exactly what they need to do. Look to take the map early, play for picks, play for vision, and make sure that there's no way that Koi can actually find these big team fights.
I mean, Mad Lions, they got themselves the first blood, they've got themselves the first dragon, they've got themselves the first herald. Now they're going to potentially use that to look for a tower. We've seen some lane swaps now as Comp and Trimby are now stepping forward with Malrang, who has that cataclysm available to him. Riposte buys some time. Chasey's able to escape. three members of Mad Lions now pushing on the bottom lane. So we've got a little bit of split map happening.
The thing is, though, you've double AD carry on the bot side, right? So you're going to be able to take that turret significantly faster. You also have the Rift Herald as well. So Koi can trade for plates, but it's going to be a losing race. Chasey.
Oh, that was very, very close. Chasey steps forward to try get some of that experience to the minions that are being denied. While that's going on, the bottom tower is falling. 3 plates already secured. It's going to fall in just a moment, and Chasey is literally dodging, dipping, ducking, and diving all of the skill shots and the CC thrown at him.
I mean, this is fantastic play from Mad. Shigenda doesn't quite get clipped by the chains of corruption. Malrang has reset, though. He's on his way. Azir's on the way. We're getting the fight.
Cataclysm available, not thrown just yet. Larson steps forward, has got that slide and glide, picks up a kill onto Hylissang. The Rift Herald was dropped and takes the tower. While that is going on, the top lane is still under pressure. Comp and Trimby continue to try chip away and try to at least answer back. But Chasey's doing a good job of pulling their focus. The culling goes wide, doesn't do enough damage, and this tower will stand.
I mean, it's a good call from Koi to punish the greediness that Mad Lions were going for. They don't turn down the Rift Herald immediately. They don't try and take the tower. So instead, they're like, okay, Malrang can come down here. Larson is pushing mid. Let's defend this. So yes, you get the tower. One more arrow, though, is a swing and a miss. But this is still Koi doing a good job of trying to find windows back into this game.
And it's a little bit against what we were expecting, because Koi's early games throughout the course of Winter have normally been a little bit better. We're taking a look at one of our replays being set up here.
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking at where Hilly and stuff are moving right now. You're looking again to see if they can move down towards that bottom half of the map. JC once more has control, but I want to see what this composition is going to do for Mad Lions, because I think one of the big things that I've seen from Mad Lions is that they've been very impatient when it comes towards objectives, where they'll try and go that bit too far forward, you know, won't take their time, and ends up causing the major issues where not everyone is in place, or maybe they don't find the right person at the right time. This is a composition that you need to be patient with. You need to find these picks. You need to be playing around vision. So this, for me, is a composition that Mad Lions are kind of testing the water with to learn those thoughts.
Well, for the time being, they've used it very well. They managed to pull Chasey back. He's survived long enough that his tower is still up, at least for a moment or two longer. Moving their resources around. Mad Lions still maintain that 3,000 gold lead. Alyoria tried to go fishing in the middle lane. Didn't manage to clip Larson, however. Now this tower is under threat. Hylissang is nearby. Does he fire Enchanted Crystal Arrow or not? There's no real support just yet until Alyoria gets a little closer, though, so don't think an engage will happen.
No, especially when you've already got the rest of Mad Lions moving up here as well. So they're perfectly happy to just keep this one going. Hilly is here just for moral support. Realistically, Karzi wants to be in the mid lane, so then he can continue to just push this forward. You've always got pressure then for Dragon that's in a minute and a half. And this is where you can start to use the fact you've got great pick and great push with Karzi, where shove mid, immediately dip into Fog of War, and just fish for arrows constantly onto Koi.
Now, Koi also are not particularly comfortable in the deficit. If you take a look at the gold differences throughout Winter this year, normally up 1,000 gold. Then at 20 minutes, only 800. And then it starts to dip. For any long-time viewers, you may remember Rogue Time. There's a little bit of that coming into effect.
Definitely is. I mean, our stats team called it the coin flip at the time, which I think is a great name for this. But I think the big one for me is kind of looking at how this feels like a very different Koi as well. We had Shigenda come in, play for these split push, play more carry, as I'm watching this arrow.
Ash Arrow! It's
No
gonna
way!
hit! It's gonna
No
hit!
way!
All of a sudden, the Empress Divine is hijacked, and now Larson will, by some time, get stunned once more and sniped! Sniped by Sejuani!
Bird is the word today for the Mad Lions, and they are eating it well. Every time this arrow's up, it seems to be hunting for Larson. Now, though, they need to get back down towards this bot side. They have to try and contest for this Dragon. And you can already see Koi in a position, trying to see if Malrang he can fish for a pick, but a lot of vision in the river still established for Mad Lions.
There's a couple of wards near that red buff area of Koi, so Mad will have a little bit of info to play with. 2 teleports available to them. And just a friendly reminder that this is Hylissang's first professional game on Ashe. He's landing those arrows from unique angles, places you're not necessarily anticipating. And I think all of the focus onto Larson is why he's down 1,000 gold. He's down 20 CS. He hasn't even completed his boots just yet. So if a dragon fight breaks out, Niski's in a significantly better position. Yoya's going to get caught by the bubble. Tidal wave, cataclysm, everything thrown, but there's just not enough damage. And in fact, it's going to be Malrang that's taken out. Now the slow is applied to Comp. He manages to dash away from that piercing arrow. Sand Soldiers put a lot of damage onto Hilly. He flashes over the wall, but Mad Lions should have control of the river.
And they have control of side lanes. I mean, Niski's just been pushing topside this whole time. Chasey in the same position. So you end up going for Koi, trying to outnumber people in the mid lane, and they're still the ones that are coming out behind. This is really well played for Mad Lions. They are not letting up on this pressure.
Second dragon about to be secured. A 5,000 gold lead for now. Still maintaining all of their towers, and Koi do have some bounties to play for. But I think Dagda, now I want to keep an eye on how Mad Lions play this next passage of the game. Where do they push their vision? How patient are they? How well do they set up for the objectives? Because they have all the tools available to them.
Rift Herald is definitely their next play because they need to try and crack open this mid lane turret. They want to try and establish vision on Koi's side of the map and make sure that Koi aren't really able to set up properly to get answers for Niski and Chasey in the side lane. Already you can see them getting into a solid position, but if I'm Koi, I want to try and match this right now. Like before this gets out of hand, we've Gale Force for the Lucian. You don't want to give over more pressure to Mad Lions, and this is your moment to try and find a team fight. Waves aren't in a bad position, but I mean, look at where Larson is. They're not really looking to try and find a fight right now, so Mad will happily take this one for free.
Well, they will find an opportunity on Niski as Malrang is waiting just behind the hijack. Oh! Sets up the counterpunch! Niski obliterates Comp. Now Malrang's the target. Stepping forward once again. Flag and drag over the wall, gets a small heal. The blast cone gets Niski close, but he needs to land the CC. Helisang steps forward. He's a little bit alone, but no one's going to turn onto him. And with the Rift Herald in the middle lane, there's pressure in the top lane. Mad Lions are in absolute control.
I mean, Niski's getting frisky. Mad Lions are coming alive here as well, pushing in towards the mid. You've got pressure here for Chasey on top side. Across the board, Larson, you can see he's only just reset now. So Mad Lions, I mean, they're just destroying Koi.
Well, they don't need to be patient for objectives if they can create opportunities. That Rift Herald takes 2 towers down the mid lane. Chasey takes the top inner turret down as well. And that was just phenomenal from Niski.
That was so well played. And I mean, look at all the vision that's been left on the way out as well for Mad. Like, they're making sure that they are getting that control that they need to continue putting this pressure down. Niski now back in this bot lane. He's going to start pushing in once more. He does have to be careful, though, as the rest of his team has reset. He is quite extended, but should be able to just clear this wave and move along nicely.
I mean, take a look at all the vision set up on the western quadrant of the map. Koi's jungle around blue buff is completely littered. We're 18 minutes into the game, and Mad Lions are in complete control. The thing that's very impressive with how they've played this game out was just how proactive they have been. They have been in the face of Koi, using those Ash Arrows, moving Elyoya around pretty much every single lane, and then Niski was just a fantastic outplay as well.
Yeah, and I mean, for Mad, they have been one of the teams that have been relatively okay at trying to like play through side lanes in 1-3-1, but we're really stepping it up a notch here with this one, where they're just so good at finding these quick picks, like using Elyoya, using Hilly, and just making sure they can continue having this dominating control over the entire map.
Now, how do Koi bring themselves back into this? We've seen a number of times they simply don't have the damage when they do lock down a target. If they are able to obviously get to Kazi and Helisang, it'll be significantly easier to kill them, but the problem is you need to get through a Fiora, a Sejuani, and a Silas.
Well, one of the things that really impressed me about Koi in Summer was their ability to very quickly overload one side of the map, find a quick pick, slow down the pace of the game, and then try and play for their late game team fights. But it feels like their team fighting hasn't been as strong as it is in Summer, and we just haven't seen them going for these quick plays on side lanes either anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if Koi try to find a pick somewhere, but where do you try and go for it? I mean, vision is everywhere right now for Mad Lions.
Also, the entirety of this last 4 minutes of gameplay, Chasey has been playing solo in either the top or the middle lane. As Mad Lions are grouping up to apply pressure somewhere else, he's still generating that lead. He's got that teleport available to him. So Mad Lions are playing on multiple lanes at the same time, and it's even more difficult for Koi to find an answer.
Yeah, and Koi are trying to see if, hey, if Shigenda pushes out this top side, maybe we can then just play off 2 lanes, very quickly collapse onto 1 lane, like punish Niski or Chasey if they overextend. But this is what we were kind of talking about with Mad Lions being much more cool, calm, and collected than I think a lot of people were expecting, where they're not overextending in side lanes. They're not giving people that opportunity to catch them out. And I mean, it's working wonders for them right now, where Koi have been trying to see if they can maybe get someone on a side lane, but every step of the way they're spotted.
I mean, take a look at the itemization. It is still a gigantic deficit for Koi. They are down 7,000 gold. We're 30 seconds from the next dragon. And the thing that I do appreciate is as Mad apply pressure to an area of the map, they leave behind a number of wards for a potential next play. So they've got some vision inside Koi's red buff if they want to go for that dragon. Right now, clearing out some of that Baron vision and setting up another line of wards. So multiple options here available to Mad, just depends on what direction they want to take it.
And that's where I'm like, okay, how many members of Koi end up at dragon? Because if they end up fully committing to trying to fight for this dragon, well, Mad just give it up. They just go straight for the inhibitor or go for the pick.
We're going to go for Calm. He's got the cleanse available to him, finally using it. Actually, not just yet. Finally escapes with his life. Teleport committed from Chasey. So a couple of ultimates thrown in. Don't find the pick thanks to that flash, or the cleanse rather. And instead now Mad Lions decide they're going to fancy a shot here at Baron.
And you're looking at Koi immediately TP from Shigenda down towards this. They want to try and fight. If they can get on towards the backline, that could be devastating for Mad.
All right, Chain of Corruption is up for Kazi. Hijack just became available for Niski. Did Mad Lions rush this? Did they need more patience? Niski waiting in that blue buff area, can come over the wall. Gigantic piercing arrow, does so much damage as the Hijack culling doesn't find a kill just yet. Chasey, however, will take down Larson. All of a sudden, Kazi finds one back. Now it's Chasey stepping forward once again. The Mad Lions absolutely crushing once more. This time, though, managing to find the different angles to engage.
And there was no way that Koi were able to find anything. You see Larson chuck himself into the backline to hope beyond hope that maybe this Emperor's Divide could turn the tide of this, but Mad Lions are ruthless. So they're going to take the Baron. They're immediately going to go for Dragon. They're taking everything.
So question, Mad Lions just completely hit Koi with their wallets. It felt as though even in a slightly rushed engaged situation, the item disparity, the damage disparity, it just meant that Koi were at a massive disadvantage right from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's very much a case of you have to try and work together for Koi, where it's like, okay, let's try and get on towards Karzi. We got the 1-2 punch of Malrang lock him down. Larson then take him out alongside Comp, kind of filling in on that damage. But if you actually watch how this fight kicks off, Karzi's very far positioned the back line. Malrang is going for the steal, while the Rex the Koi are trying to go for the fight instead. So Karzi's just free to start poking away. He's under no real threat. Chasey now on the side as well with Niski. And the second they end up split up there as Koi and they're running for the hills, that's where Mad can pounce.
I mean, ultimately Mad come away the victors. But do you think, with what we were talking about in terms of the objectives, the pacing, do you think they rushed that? Do you think that was the right call, just in terms of philosophy? Because the rest of the game has felt really kind of tempered and cool, and this one felt very urgent.
I think Mad knew what they were capable of. They got the near pick onto Comp, right? They forced him back, so cool, we can just immediately turn over towards the objective. There's not really going to be much of a contest that can come through from Koi in that time, and that forces the pressure onto Koi to have a rush decision, make sure that they actually can fight against them and not really give Koi angle into this game.
Well, for Mad Lions, it's kind of been the summary of this game. 24 minutes in, 3 dragons, Baron, gigantic gold lead. They have absolutely led from minute 1. Kazi and Hilly were trading inside the bush. They got control of that bottom lane. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they start moving their members around the map, towers have fallen, and it's just been, again, a fairly one-sided game. Once the team has generated a lead, have been able to run away with it.
And I mean, the problem is that, Comp and Trimby were supposed to be your bridge alongside Malrang to the late game, but they fell behind so quickly. Malrang couldn't really stabilize that lane, especially when Oyoya started to cause issues in mid lane as well. So Mad have just done a really good job of keeping their stranglehold on this game. And again, very slow pace, very cool the way they want to try and approach this, and making sure that they aren't giving an opportunity for Koi to come back into it.
I mean, the crazy thing is, the pressure has not let up at all. Every single dragon from that first has been on spawn. The Baron attempt and the vision setup, deliberate, clear. Mad Lions haven't taken a moment, and that means they haven't given Koi an opportunity to scale up and get themselves back into this game.
And now you're in a horrible spot as Koi. Karzi's knocking at your front door. He's got poke. We've got arrows going left, right, and center. And as well, Hilly as well with that poke. It makes it so hard to hold on to the base alongside that Baron creep wave. So now Koi trying to collapse on mid. this gives an opportunity for Chasey to get a bit of damage on top, see if you can put some pressure onto bot lane as well.
And of course, if you try to engage on any of the 2 or 3 man stacks, there's a lot of disengage tools for Mad Lions, and that just allows Chasey, who's been the primary split pusher, to push into that middle lane, take the inhibitor. Now all of a sudden, Hylissang steps forward, fires out the volley, piercing arrows from Kazi, not landing just yet. The second inhibitor in this bottom lane will be the focus. Koi, what will you do? Do you start a fight? Can you pull off a miracle? Marang and Shigenda stepping forward. Good damage onto Chasey from Comp, but not enough. And they do at least defend that bottom inhibitor. But Mad Lions back away. They got a lot of money to spend. And they will be able to come back and use those super minions to help them in their split push journey.
Yeah, Koi are just hunting for anyone who's lagging behind. Maybe find a pick that could buy them a bit of space. But again, Mad Lions doing their due diligence, pushing themselves back into river before they look for the reset. Koi can shove out these waves, but as you say, double our super creeps in the mid lane. You can just have Chasey start to poke away and prod away at that inhibitor on bot side, while the rest of Mad Lions look for the play on top. And the second you end up, pushed underneath your base here as Koi, well, there's the Mountain Soul coming up in 2 minutes. Mad just get to fall back and take that while you're cornered in your base.
I mean, look at the item disparity between the mid laners. Death Cap completed as well as the Everfrost. He's got the Seekers for now and the boots, and right now, Arson's been under so much pressure, hasn't even been able to upgrade those boots just yet. Only built that Banshee's Veil a little while ago. I mean, for Koi, it's another game where there are some struggles. Obviously, gigantic deficit because of Mad Lions' early game. Koi likely to lose this game, meaning that their next 4, SK, Vitality, G2, and Astralis, those are the teams they're going to be looking to beat to try and reclaim their title, the moniker that they built for themselves as the regular season kings.
Especially when Vitality and G2 are looking like 2 of the strongest teams we have in the LEC right now. This is a bit of an uphill battle for Koi. These are the wins that you would hope that they'd be able to pick up to try and reclaim that title as the regular season MVPs, but it's really not working out for them right now, and Mad Lions are putting on a clinic, making sure that Koi is just kept out of that pond.
They are, and again, it started from this bot lane of Hilly and Kazi being able to generate an advantage for themselves, but then crucially, I think Elyoya is still doing things that Elyoya does, engaging for Mad Lions, setting up all of these fights, and despite multiple ultimates being thrown out, Kazi's just going to flash over the wall, gets to safety. Marang buys some time with that stopwatch, and the Ash Arrow will slow down the engage. Shigenda can't find anything more as Niski is now jumped on inside the base. Chasey's taken out the top inhibitor, and Comp's trying to clear the minions. Chasey gets his kill onto Shigenda, the second of the game. 3 members still standing, facing an army of minions, and all 5 members of the Mad Lions.
And Mad Lions are happy to clean this one out. They're looking for more.
They are. They're going to fountain dive. Comp is being chunked out. Trimby's getting the heals, not taken out just yet, and some Sand Soldiers by the time. Minions are hammering away on the Nexus turrets. 1 and 2 have fallen. Now Mad Lions turn their attention to the Nexus. Comp's doing what little he can. Chasey steps forward and continues to chip away, but they took too much damage on that fountain dive, and Koi will live for a few moments longer.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a voluntary dive from Mad Lions. They take a step bit too far forward, and Larson will respond. They're going to try and fall back towards the Dragon. Koi have to deal with their base, though. Super minions are spewing in 2 by 2 across the lanes, and it will give the opportunity for Mad not close out the game, but will get a soul that will put them ever closer.
Give themselves a little bit more damage numbers, a little bit more to the KDA. Secure the soul as well. And it is a expectation of a mere formality with no Nexus turrets, no inhibitors, and of course Mad Lions in this gigantic position. I mean, I think, look, we'll take this time just to look a little further ahead, because Mad Lions will be playing again tomorrow, right? They will be playing BDS, and of course, looking ahead to week 3, Fnatic, Heretics, and G2. So we've got ourselves the Monday games. We've got ourselves 3 more before the regular season is closed out. And with Mad Lions looking likely to go 4-1, they are sitting at the top of the table.
And that's where you want to be as well, avoiding the fact that you can get picked into some of these top teams as well. But for Mad Lions now, immediately over towards the Baron, they know the super creeps are doing the work for them, where they don't really have to worry about putting pressure on the base or Koi trying to respond to this, because, I mean, they're just on sweep-up duty in their own base at the moment.
Yeah, it's just interesting scenario to be in when you look at the adaptation to the new format, the new season, the new patch. Mad Lions have put a pretty dominant win here today. And they do need to keep this up, as we've now got 1 more siege to go. Koi, on the other hand, Haven't given up just yet. Alyoya split off on the side, dashes over the wall. And with so many super minions and the Baron and the Soul, Mad Lions can look to do this stylishly. Hijacking the tidal wave. Trimby's the first target. Alyoya goes in, throws out the prison. Chasey and Niski hammering on the Nexus. And no kills will be secured as Mad Lions take down Rogue.
I mean, who needs kills when you can just go for the Nexus instead? I mean, Mad Lions, that was beautiful. Really, really well played. Controlled from start to finish, not giving up any inches to let Koi get back into the game. Like, this is what you want from some of the top teams in this region.
It is one of these things that once a team starts to move around the map and they accelerate the pace of the game, it becomes so untenable for the opposition to come back in. They get suffocated out of the map.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the way that this composition was operating, right? I think you've got Fiora, who's going to do wonders in the side lane against this K'Sante as the game goes on. You've already massively snowballed your bot lane as well because they're taking over. And then just playing around vision, looking for picks with the Sejuani, with this Ashe, making sure that you're always setting up that vision deep into the enemy jungle. And the fact they got the double Rift Heralds makes it so easy for them as well.
Now, Mad Lions, G2, and Team Vitality sitting at 4-1 at the top of the table is going to put some distance between them and now the 4th, 5th, 6th teams. Interesting scenario, but also very interesting to look at how these teams are developing and evolving, because I did not expect that from Mad Lions today.
No, not even a little. I think the big thing for me is the patience factor we kind of talked about with Mad Lions, where when I was looking at it a lot was when they got to objectives, they'd kind of, okay, let's start it up, let's try and force a fight, let's try and get the ball rolling somewhere. But I think this game kind of showed that they do have that other side to them, which is we can actually play this very slow, we can play this methodically and make sure that we're just choking out our opponents. But when I look across at Koi, I think we're still seeing a lot of the issues that we saw against, you know, Fnatic, and these kind of teams are able to make these big comebacks, but now they're also starting to fall behind the early game. The mid game isn't coming together with those team fights like we used to see. It feels like Koi are really struggling to find that identity that was so core to them in summer.
I mean, for Mad Lions, the way this game played out, once they garnered that lead from 16 minutes to game end, they were just pedal to the metal. They were playing multiple lanes, they're playing for all the objectives. They forced Koi into a position that they couldn't do anything. And that was impressive because it started slow and controlled and then advanced to just absolute domination.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I love to see it from Mad Lions, especially when we kind of were looking at G2, how dominant they were earlier on today in some of their games. The fact that we have Mad Lions really starting to push themselves up, looking like they're going back for that 2020 split as well, will be really great to see.
Very, very interesting, of course. Player of the game nominees at LEC, Alyoya, Niski, and Hylissang. Go vote right now. Don't forget that we have another show day tomorrow, 17:45 Berlin time. That'll round out game 6. There's only 3 more to go before we close out the regular season, and there's starting to shape up which teams are managing to adapt and looking good and which ones are struggling. Dagda, I hear the interview's ready, so we're going to head on stage. We're Laura standing by with Kazi.
Thank you, guys. And Karzi, thank you for joining me for this interview. Congrats on taking match of the week. First question I have for you is about bot lane, because we keep on seeing a huge prior on Lucian Nami, and it's not doing so hot right now. 2 and 4 for Lucian. What's your take on how strong this bot lane is right now compared to how high in prior it is?
So I think that Lucian Nami is really strong.
Yeah.
It's just the early game which is rough right now, because Keria showed that you can play a lot of crazy stuff into it. So people started figuring out that you can actually do this and just survive with heal and barrier and win the all-in when they dash in.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think Lucian Nami is still really strong. If you survive the early game and get into the mid game on even items, then I think it's still really OP.
And I'm very glad that you mentioned Keria, because he's been doing some weird stuff over in the LCK if people haven't been able to follow Caitlyn's support. Yasuo, Kalista. And when you know that you're playing with Hylissang and how mad he can be sometimes, having the nickname Professor Healy, how worried are you as an AD carry that he would flash this pick at any point?
And I'm kind of worried when I imagine Hylissang Ashe or Caitlyn or something like this. So it's not something that comes up to my mind when I imagine Hylissang. So I was kind of worried, but I think that he played really, really well today. So I'm super happy.
He really, really did. And it looks like the bot lane is working really well right now, which was, I don't want to say a concern, but coming into the season, we were wondering how well you two would be doing. So tell me a bit about the synergy between you and Healy. Who's calling the shots and how you guys are doing right now in comms?
So I think me and Healy have great synergy because I think we fit well together as personalities. We are not really afraid to talk about our mistakes and issues. And I think that Healy, like when I do something wrong, he always wants to talk about it, so that's like a motivator because I never spoke about mistakes we did with my former supports that much. So that might be a big case why we are performing well.
That's amazing, pushing each other. When you think about Mad Lions and you returning to the team after spending a year with Vitality, how different is the mood now compared to the times you were playing with them? Coaching staff-wise and everything, how much different is Mad Lions?
I mean, I enjoyed my time in Vitality. I had fun with the players, but it just didn't click on the Rift. So that was kind of unfortunate. And to coaching stuff, like in Mad Lions, there is a really big coaching stuff, which we don't have in Vitality, so I can't really say, but it's the coaching in Mad Lions is just a lot better.
I know, you guys have been praising the coaching staff from Mad Lions for years now, and you guys have been doing really, really good for the first week of the LEC. Let's take a look at the standings here to see how well Mad Lions is doing, and I want you to give me your input on the state of the LEC right now. And would you say that your results and your place in the standings reflects the work you've been doing backstage?
I don't think so, but I take it because we are playing really well on stage, so
all right.
That's nice.
That's amazing then, and it echoes to what Elioya was telling me yesterday. I'm gonna be a bit of a snitch here. I don't know if you heard the interview we had together, but he was calling all of the team, I quote, a bunch of monkeys, and telling that his bot lane was very specific, very particular. Elioya is waiting on the other side of the studio for PGL right now. Is there anything you would like to say to your jungler?
Wait, he was calling monkeys us or the other teams?
His teammates.
Ah. Well, I think he's right, so it's fine.
All right, he knows you guys really well. Cardi, thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
Good luck on the last game of the week, and that's all for us on this side of the studio, and we will see Elioya in post-game lobby in just a minute. Stay tuned.